Hello and welcome to Filmi Ladies. We are Cher and Dionne, and we welcome you to roll with the homies. We are, of course, celebrating the 30th anniversary of Clueless. Guys, I am fully aware that this is a Bollywood podcast. I do not care because Clueless is a national treasure. It's actually an international treasure, and its 30th anniversary needs to be celebrated. And so, whatever. Um, so, Clueless debuted, Clueless was released on 19th of July, 1995. How the time flies. I feel like it was just yesterday that I saw this movie for the first time and absolutely fell in love with Cher Horowitz and Dion and Travis and all of these amazing people. And if you have not seen this film, you need to immediately pause this podcast and go and watch it because it is phenomenal. It's also available on YouTube, and we will put the link in the description.
For free.
For free, I know. You just had to sit through like 3 ads for it. It was fine.
Okay.
I'm kind of shocked. Maybe it is because YouTube also knows that this is a national treasure and everybody needs to be seeing it. It's like an education for all the people. And this is also one of those like generation defining movies. Both Beth and I are very proud to belong to the greatest generation, which is Gen X. And Alicia Silverstone, such a Gen X icon. Paul Rudd, such a Gen X icon. And this is very much a Gen X movie, and we'll kind of get into that in a bit. But Beth, tell me, how old were you when you saw Clueless for the first time, and did you love it?
I think I saw it in the cinema, so I would have been 21.
Okay.
If I recall, I did not go into it knowing it was a Jane Austen adaptation. I think that I thought it was a high school, whatever, whatever, and I suspect I thought I was too good for that at 21, which meant I was about to be a senior or a fourth year in university. So obviously quite close, and I'm quite close in age to these people.
Yeah.
I'm about 3 years older than they are, I would suspect the character.
You're like Paul Rudd's character's age
Right,
in the
right,
movie.
right. Um, and I honestly do not remember what I thought of it in the cinema, but of course I have loved it over the years. I have watched it many times. This may be like my 10th go through of this movie or
Yeah.
something like that. So I'm a big fan. I enjoy high school set things now that I'm very clear of high school, although I loved high school, so it's not like oh
Okay.
drama, but yeah, I agree. This is a treasure. It is a masterpiece. I love it.
Yeah. I can't remember when I saw Clueless. I definitely did not see it when it came out because I was still living in Nigeria and we did not have access to like newer movies. And so for me to watch a Hollywood movie, it would usually be like 6 or 7 months later, literally when we got cassettes by cargo ship. And so I don't remember when I saw it, but I was definitely a teenager. And this was part of, one thing that I feel like Americans don't understand or realize is that for those of us who did not grow up in America, American movies, especially of that era, were such a defining reason for people to want to move here because it was just so cool. Everything was so cool, especially for me, like living in Lagos, which I loved. I will always love my hometown, but we were not fancy, we were not swanky, we did not have shopping malls, we did not have any of the things. And it's like when you're watching a movie like Clueless, or you're watching something like Legally Blonde, which came like at least 5 or 6 years later, or if you're watching Beverly Hills 90210 or Baywatch or any of those like very quote unquote glamorous things, it was honestly the biggest brand endorsement for brand America. And it was like such a cool advertisement. Like everybody wanted that. And especially in my school, because I went to the same school in Lagos from kindergarten to the 10th grade. So not quite high school, but at least until 10th grade. It was cool to love America and love all things American. And it was uncool to love anything that was like non-American. So like if you were cool, you like Tom Cruise, you like Brad Pitt, you had to pick your team. I was always team Tom Cruise. And you loved George Michael and you loved all of those things. And Clueless is such a reminder of what it felt like, because like in Nigeria, we would constantly have like power blackouts and stuff, right? Like the electrical grid. Like everyone had like backup generators and stuff. And we had like two TV channels. And so when we would watch things like this, it was like, man, what is this land of excess? What is this land where these people wear these fashions and they go to these like shopping malls and Rodeo Drive? I had not even set foot in America, y'all, and I knew what Rodeo Drive was, and I wanted to go there. My ass wanted to go to the Tiffany and Company in Rodeo Drive. So I think, especially for my generation, part of why we wanted to move to America was not necessarily because of opportunity at that age, at least. It was because it was just cool and it was fun. And it seemed like people had just these fun lives without very many restrictions. Because, of course, at that age, you're not exactly watching like art cinema or indie films or anything like that. You're watching this fluffy, popcorny stuff that comes out of America. And you're like, I want that too. So I remember it having that same impact to me. And in my mind, it's all like connected. Also, there's the scene where Dionne says in the cafeteria, she says to Ty that Alicia Silverstone's character, Cher, is saving herself for Luke Perry. And I was like, oh my God, Luke Perry. Talk about another Gen X icon. Um,
Not
so
like,
I know, I love Luke Perry.
but that one, I forgot about that line. I think I had not seen Clueless since
Yeah.
I was like,
I know. I know Luke Perry has passed. Shannon Doherty has passed.
Brittany
It's very
Murphy.
sad. Matthew Perry has passed. We need to protect Keanu and Ethan Hawke and Winona Ryder because those three are like defining Gen X icons to me. And so like I am willing to like participate in
But
some
them
sort
are
of security fund.
them are 60, so like it wouldn't even be that young.
That's okay. They still need to be protected though.
Okay. Shannon Doherty died, girl.
I know.
Okay.
Luke Perry and Shannon Doherty both
Okay.
died. I know. Yeah, it's very sad. But yeah, so for me at least, Clueless was just one in a long line of very aspirational movies and just wanting to just I think kind of quasi wanting to be an American. And it's just every time I see this movie, it just brings a smile to my face. It just makes me happy. And I feel like we need more happy movies. My brain also clubs this in with Legally Blonde, which came out in 2001, if I'm not mistaken, because again, it's happy. And I think to a large extent, it's because the protagonists of this movie to me are so similar. Cher Horowitz and Elle Woods are both these like happy, bubbly, cheerful girls who at first sight seem a little bit airheaded or like a little bit ditzy, and everyone kind of underestimates them, but they quickly show those other people they're actually way brighter than they're given credit for. And I wanted to be friends with these girls. I still want to be friends with them. I still want to be friends with Reese Witherspoon and Alicia Silverstone. So I've noticed that since we started discussing this, we have both been smiling nonstop. So what about this movie makes you happy? Why have you seen it 10 times?
I think it's very funny. Um, I think it is. I was noting this time how I don't think there's a single element of this movie that's not a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I was very much appreciating that this time. Like everything's cranked a little extra high because there's obviously there's a lot of American movies set about and TV shows set about rich high school students,
Yes.
particularly in California,
Oh
particularly
yeah.
in Los Angeles.
Southern California. Yeah.
And the people in the OC, for example, which started not long after this, um,
Really?
totally different flavor, right? Even though the
Right.
things are very similar, the flavor is very different. And I just enjoy that it is very affectionate, I think, but it is
Yeah.
also pointing out the ridiculous in a way that's fun because, and as you were talking about this being aspirational, I've had this conversation with Indian friends about the show Friends as well. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I hear what you're saying because it was aspirational for us too. Like I grew up in a small town of the Midwest. Like I didn't know anyone who lived like this. And even the people I had met or heard of who lived in the hyper rich Chicago suburbs, which
Mm.
every bit as much money as this, it's
Yeah.
the same, right? Because California is where California and New York are where a
Yeah.
lot of Americans project their dreams and
Yeah.
that. right? So
It has a cachet that the other parts of the country just don't.
it's a slightly different flavor of aspiration probably, but it's very similar for a lot of us as well. But it's just so funny, this movie. And I it Emma is not my favorite Jane Austen novel, but
Mm.
I do think this is an amazing adaptation, and it gets at things like how Cher slash Emma, you were saying people underestimate her, and I was thinking, I mean, I agree, but I also think she underestimates herself for a while.
Yeah.
She like overestimates in one direction, but underestimates about the things that really matter. But
Hmm.
she learns and she gets to change, which is, again, as I'm always saying, I love that in a story, especially for women. I love that, Ty slash Harriet is eventually kind of rewarded, here my finger quotes, with the partner that she chose for herself that was right
Hmm.
all along. And there's a lesson there about trusting your gut or trusting your self-knowledge and that kind of thing, and not letting someone who is popular sway you about a thing they don't actually know anything about because they don't know you because they just met you.
Right.
So,
Hmm.
it's very charming. Obviously, the like real pressure on someone like Harriet in the novel Emma to marry
Mm.
very different in this, and it's set in high school. So the sort of aging is different because of how times have changed. But I think that this is translated really, really well, and it's very fun. This is my second favorite Emma adaptation. My first being the 2000s, either 8 or 9 miniseries from the BBC with Romola Garai and Johnny Lee Miller. But I just do, this is so charming. It's so fun.
Yeah.
Language is hilarious. Like, this is such a quotable movie, which I think is
Hmm.
its success. The soundtrack is so good. I have the
Yeah.
CD of this soundtrack still. I occasionally get it out and listen to it. Like, this is all for its exaggeration. It's also it hits very, very well.
Yeah. I was thinking, I know Clueless gets compared with Legally Blonde a lot, and I did that as well. But the other movie that this one really reminds me of, even though they're so different, is actually Wayne's World, which is another movie I love because Wayne's World also has these seemingly goofy, seemingly silly, seemingly superficial guys in it who, are actually quite popular too. Oh, hello, Mr. Hugo Watkins. All cats are popular in my world. And that movie is also extremely quotable, right? And like this movie gave rise to like things like whatever and stuff like that and as if and all of those phrases. But then Wade's World also gave us things like, I mean, there's multiple quotable things from Wayne's World that, of course, will not strike me right now, even though I use them normally in normal conversations. And all my Gen Z coworkers are like, "What?" And I'm like, you wouldn't get it.
I have
Um,
no idea if
but
the world would be funny to a younger audience. Like, I would
yeah,
rewatch it and just laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh, but I don't know if they
yeah,
would
I
translate.
don't know if they would necessarily get it.
Yeah.
But it's that same affection too, right? Between like these people, like there's Wayne and there's Garth. And then over here, we have these two girls that are friends as well. And
Yeah.
I think the common thread between them also is like that affection and that friendship that they have with each other. And sure, there's times when like they get mad at each other and there's like a tiff or there's some tension, but they always like come together. And you as the audience want them to be friends and you want that friendship to continue because it just makes you happy. And I'm so tired of seeing things where like the protagonists don't like each other and there's all this tension. And I'm like, let's all just get along. It's just life is just better and easier that way, honestly. But yeah, it always reminds me of Wayne's World as well. What do you think about this and the way it talks about like the high school experience and especially about like the popular girl concept versus something like Mean Girls, which is also another movie that is written by a woman author. That one was written by Tina Fey, and then this one is directed by Amy Heckerling. I don't know if Amy Heckerling also wrote it, but I know she's the director of Clueless, and both have okay. They both have women directing it, and I just find it interesting. I feel like women directors are so good at centering stories on women and talking about things that matter to women, because we just don't seem to have a lot of movies that have women protagonists and happy women protagonists as
Yeah,
opposed to women having bad things happen to them.
yeah, a suffering sort of movie. This I was just thinking about, are there movies centered on high schools where it's mean boys because mean girls are very much a thing
Right.
in high school movies because while Dion and Cher are not shown to be terrors and bullies exactly, they
Mhm.
clearly have that potential.
Yeah.
This film is not interested in showing us anything about the people who aren't their little sphere. Like we don't
Click.
see them looking up. We don't see anyone looking up at them from the outside and either wanting to be like them or feeling like they've suffered at the hands of Cher and Dion, for example.
Yeah.
Which, for example, is one of the things that I love so much about the movie Heathers, which is one of my favorite
Mhm.
American films of all time, and is a very different tone from this. If you
Yeah.
haven't seen it, from about I think it's 1990, right, or 1991 or 89 even. I don't even know the year of one of my favorite films. Anyway,
Right.
so there's something about the mean girl aspect that is I think is important to discuss, and I suspect does
Yeah.
reflect a lot of people's high school experiences in the United States. It
Mhm.
mine particularly, but I know it's a thing. Um, I think the kind of exploration of social currencies is interesting. Like, what does it mean to be popular in different circles? And this one what I think kind of saves this movie is that Cher is at her heart a decent person and she does care about other people. And when it's pointed out to her that she's not acting like she cares about other people, she's very hurt by that, right? So
Mhm.
when she gets in a fight with Ty, that's very upsetting to her, to both of them. Um, and that Cher and I think this comes through better in this than it does in the novel, Emma, and maybe because I am a Gen X person, not an 1815 person, I don't see sort of Emma's inherent goodness quite as easily as I
Okay.
see. If it's there, I don't see it as easily as I see Cher's. Um, and I love that. Okay, so if we're not going to deal with like the idea of cliques and bullying, particularly, this is a nice thing to do. And yeah, it's like an oversimplified, oversunified, but I don't think we're supposed to be learning a whole lot of less.
Yeah.
We are learning some lessons from this because if we weren't, it wouldn't be called Clueless. It would be
Hmm.
called, Rich Bitch or whatever.
Right.
But the fact that she comes to her own realization of the fact that she's clueless and we get to see what that means to her and how she addresses it. So
Yeah.
I I know I've strayed from what you originally asked, but I think there's a warm but firm heart to this film that I think that is honestly what a lot of us are responding to, even if on
Yeah.
the surface it's the slang. Obviously the clothes are really fun. Because another thing that struck me in this one is with the exception of Brittany Murphy as Ty and then Breckenmeyer as Travis, I think they are the strongest actors in this film of the kids.
Hmm.
Because Alicia Silverstone's a little rough at times as an actor, right? And Paul Rudd is not at his finest in this either.
Right.
Like he's a little stilted and wooden and kind of awkward at times. Part of it's the character, but I think not
Right.
all. Um, so it's not like wow, all these performances, but it is just so effective. They are even though I don't think there are things that are great about their performances, I do think that they're effective overall. And it's I don't know, they just convey the kind of charm of
Yeah.
this world.
I think you're right because when I think about Clueless, like I know it's categorized as like a high school movie, which is very much a category in and of itself. But my brain does not categorize it as a high school movie. My brain actually categorizes it as sort of like a coming of age story because you see the character graph, you see her grow as a person, and you could ostensibly still set it in that era. You could still set it in like the mid 90s, but instead of doing it in a high school, it could be Cher's first job. Like maybe she's an intern in a law firm or something, and she's still bringing some of that like bubble living and that privilege, and it would still work. Or she could be in her 20s and maybe she has a job somewhere, like I don't know, maybe she works at like in a fashion magazine or something, and it would still work, right? So i I think that's why you don't notice so much of that clickiness and that meanness, because that would take a little bit away from it. And to answer your question, I was thinking about that too. I was like, I don't think I know any movies where there's like mean boys, because I think that when boys are mean, they're just straight up bullies and it's like physical violence,
Yeah.
like just bashing people up or beating them up and things like that. And then that's just never going to be a comedy. That's just always going to end up being like a
And that's sort of
cautionary
like
tale.
what, like Varsity Blues and some of the like boy sport movies that are set
Yeah.
about teenagers. I haven't watched, so I probably just don't know. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a different
Hmm.
it is stereotyped as being a different flavor, and I suspect it is often experienced that way.
Yeah, because I think with boys and with men, it's not emotional violence, it's more physical violence, and that just goes down a very dark path. And with girls and with women, it's more emotional violence. I remember someone back when I lived in Chicago, someone telling us, we didn't know him very well. He was a neighbor of ours, and we had like a neighborhood block party, and they had two kids, and I think their son was like 10 or something, and their daughter was like 7. And we just got talking, and like he'd had like 2 beers or something, and at that point he told me how rough he found the comments that his daughter made compared to his son. Like he said, when my son would throw tantrums, like when he was 4 or 5, whatever, and we didn't give him another ice cream or whatever, and if he threw a tantrum, he would just stomp his feet and say things like, I hate you, whatever. And the daughter would not throw a tantrum. She would literally be like, she would just look at him cold in the eyes and be like, I wish you were dead, and I wish I could go and pick different parents. And he said, my son's tantrums never affected me and my wife, but my daughter, she would just be like this stone cold face, like a killer. And she would just be like, I wish you were dead. And he was like, my wife would start bawling because she was like, what do you mean you want different parents? And I am not a parent. I have literally zero interest in ever being a parent. But I was just like, man, that does sound rough. Like I think I would start bawling as well. What do you think about that? Like I violence wielded by
Uh,
girls or teenagers that's like more intended to wound
this is certainly something that
emotionally.
is, I feel like, kind of a stereotype and is true significantly, although not always, right? I mean, there's ideas about girls having verbal acuity earlier. There's things about, and I'm talking about in America, boys not being socialized to express emotion,
Right.
right? There's this sort of age-old idea that women's power is soft and sort of is a soft, less formal power, which can manifest as things like gossip, which we do see a lot
Mm,
in high school movies, whereas boys/men have more access to the formal structures of power. Now, again, in a high school, that's a little bit different, but
yeah.
and we don't see Cher, for example, being a class president or something. Like nobody is,
Right.
that kind of thing isn't there. But so I think those are kind of the major factors that you hear. I feel like I kind of hear about when people are talking about girls as the different ways that girls and boys bully in
Hmm.
general. This is very in general. Obviously, there are very specific examples. I knew some very mean boys in high school. I just don't feel like I see them in media quite so much.
Right.
Um, so yeah.
Yeah, I was also thinking about when you said like you can't remember when Cher was like really mean to someone, and I feel like the only time we see Cher being like mean and in a way that it actually hurts the other person is when she is clearly very dismissive towards Travis multiple
That's
times.
true. She is mean to Travis.
Yeah.
You're right.
Like there's that scene where she's like collecting donations and things for like the Pismo Beach
Yeah.
stuff. And Travis is like, he's so sweet. I love Travis. And he comes up to her and he's like talking about his skateboard and stuff. And she's like so dismissive. And you can see his poor little face crumpled up. And I'm like, Cher, don't be so mean to him.
When in the towards the end, that's where she's come around, right? And she's like,
Yeah.
I'll come to your event, like you
Yeah.
can flyer or whatever. But yeah, she is mean to Travis quite a bit. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so and there is also all of that subtle manipulation of like, like let's talk about this obsession that she has with makeovers, and this obsession with like trying to make like what is wrong with ties, flannels, like she wants to wear that, let her wear that. You're obsessed with designer wear, what is your problem? But it's almost this it because one thing I wonder about is like, this is a feel good affectionate movie because Ty is more than willing to be taken under Cher's wing and is ready to be party to all of this like makeover nonsense. But what would have happened if Ty had said, no, thank you. I actually am very happy to look the way I do. And I have no interest, like I have strawberry pink hair for a reason. I have no interest in being a brunette, and I have no interest in wearing the clothes that you do. What would Cher's reaction have been then, do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if they would have bonded, right? Because I think in Emma, Mr. Knightley, scolds Emma about like this is not one of your dolls, you know,
Yeah.
dress up and organize their wedding and stuff like that. Speaking of, as we were with Paranita about
Yeah.
dolls getting married. Um, so yeah, I don't think
And
they had that a relationship much at all because Cher, now Dion is her equal, so that doesn't really matter, but Cher wants to fix people, which when you're an adult, is not a thing you can do, nor should you want to. It's a deeply egotistic,
yeah.
arrogant thing to want to do. And but Cher kind of, in the beginning when she's kind of showing Ty some of the different types of people at the school, like the Persian mafia and the stoners at school and
I
whatever.
love the Persian mafia, by the way.
I know, very, very like that. There was no Persian mafia at my small town Midwestern high school. Um,
Oh, it's a very Southern California thing. Like there's even shows like Shahs of Sunset and
right,
stuff. They
right.
all have like the fancy cars going vroom vroom on Rodeo Drive. It's so funny.
He, Cher as Emma she has that line in Emma about the Miss Bates where it's like if they were higher, I could chastise, or no, maybe Mr. Knightley says it, like if they were higher class, we could chastise them, but they're poor. So you need
Mm,
to be kinder to them. And that includes
right.
outward expressions of kindness that others observe as well as how you interact with them. So I think that that's kind of what Cher is doing, right? She isn't concerned with with the parts of the ecosystem that are not her part. She
Mm,
doesn't interfere with the Persian mafia. She doesn't seem to be anti the nerds, but she doesn't interact with them either.
yeah.
The world is very small.
Yeah.
Was Emma's, right? So,
Yeah.
and Cher doesn't have as much of a reason for her world to be small, but I think that's a clever transplant, and it's a case of privilege, protecting
Yeah.
and shielding you and sheltering you in ways that you maybe when you're older you wish it hadn't, right? Like
Yeah.
then she doesn't get much of anything.
I think either Paul Rudd or her dad in Clueless actually does make a comment about like dolls and playing with dolls. And someone says something about like your mom not being there. Maybe it's her dad who said that, where
Mm.
they were like, your mom isn't here. And so therefore you want to play with dolls or something like that. So there is that reference to that as well. And Paul Rudd's character is definitely very like judgy about it, as he should be, because he's like watching this tomfoolery and he's like, girl, like come on, focus
And
on better
what, like
things.
4 or 5 years older, which is the perfect age difference to be utterly dismissive and
Yeah.
well, I'm so much older and wiser than you. It's the like emo crunchy eco lawyer college student is going to look
From
down
Seattle.
down at Cher. And there is a lot to look down at Cher about, right? For all of
Yeah,
her privilege and stuff. She also she is clueless.
she is clueless. Yeah. What do you think about the interaction between her and Paul Rudd? It just like cracks me up, and I just feel like they have such a great chemistry. Like when they're sitting on the sofa and they're like fighting over the remote and everything. It's very sweet, it's very heartwarming, and you know they're gonna end up
Oh
together.
yeah, of course.
Like it's just her dad knows it. Her dad also implies that he's like, yeah, maybe you should go check on her at the party.
Yeah,
um
that's right.
so why do you think there's this attraction that exists between both of them when they're clearly so different, and he clearly has no patience for her rubbish tomfoolery, and like he thinks she's a little bit of a joke, and then she clearly thinks he's like so annoying and like eye rolly and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit opposites attract, right? But it's also yeah, I mean, as we were saying about another film, like, do I see them with a successful long-term relationship? No. No,
Really?
no.
Oh,
Because he's going to go to law school and she's going to go to college and like I just no, I don't see it. But because we actually don't know much about Josh. So like
right,
is Josh a good-hearted person? I don't know. He
right.
doesn't seem bad, but like he, when he like goes and checks on her and stuff like that, but he's not we- in terms of like what do they have compatible values? I don't really
Mm,
um but I mean it's very cute and I'm very happy they end up together and whatever, but
right.
I'll just leave it where it is and I don't need to see any further. But yeah, why are they attracted to each other? I guess it's a little bit opposites attract. It's also Cher is so busy saying she doesn't want to date a high school guy, and the only older guy we see her with is this one. So it's kind of like, well, that's that's the option
Yeah.
presented to her, basically. So I don't know. What do you think?
Um, I have hopes that they'll end up together and like always be happy or something. First of all, I think Josh is just going to move to Beverly Hills because he doesn't seem to have like a particularly great relationship with his mom. She's on her fourth marriage. He's over it. He actually is not related to Cher's dad in any way, because I mean, he just isn't. And her dad is so sweet. I love how, like, I know he's like gruff and annoying and he's always like yelling at people. And I think he's from the East Coast just based on his accent, like that
Oh
character.
yeah.
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 So presumably he's like a New York lawyer or something who moved to California and made tons of money and lives in this gigantic mansion that was built in 1972, mind you, with those wonderful Greek columns. And he's a lawyer. I'm pretty sure Josh is going to move into that thing, and it's going to be one of those Bollywood things where it's like, you're the Jamai and you're going to take over the business, because Cher sure as hell is not going to become a lawyer and do a job. She's going to be a lady who lunches. So I feel like there's clearly enough about her that is attractive to him, and that lifestyle. I feel like he's acting and being too cool,
Oh,
and
yeah.
all the virtue signaling that he does, for all the virtue signaling that he does, and as much as he cares about like refugees and wars and stuff like that, he sure as hell is happy to live in that multi-million-dollar mansion, right? And like, just like
Like
eat.
LA or wherever,
Huh?
and to be at UCLA or wherever he is living.
Yeah, so I think he's gonna live there and make a life with Cher and like take over Mr. Horowitz's law firm or become a partner or whatever. So I feel almost like he's gonna end up becoming a little bit like her. And so I think they'll be happy, but that's also me being experiencing wish fulfillment. Um, there's a theory float. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I forgot to mention Donald Faison when I was naming the good actors. I love Donald Faison. I love everything he does. I love Scrubs, especially him. Like he is such a star in this film. Because I was thinking about would Dion and Murray be
Murray.
be happy later. I was like, yeah, maybe.
I love when he's like getting his head shaved at the party and she's like throwing a hissy fit and he's like, I'm keeping it real. I'm keeping it real. And then she's like, fine, I'm going to call your mom. And then he like loses his shit. He's like, do not call my mother.
Like, I have to look at you.
Oh my God, the scene, he is so hysterical. And Dion is so hysterical in that scene where they're like, she's driving and they get onto the freeway by accident.
A very stressful scene. I think that's as someone who grew up in a small town, the first time I was trying to drive on any kind of major city highway, I did very much feel like that. And it
Yeah.
is terrifying.
Yeah, but that was very funny, especially when like that big truck comes behind them, the lorry or whatever, and then like he's just like losing his shit. It was hysterical. It actually reminded me, so every time we've gone abroad, my husband always like rents a car and he'll drive, and we have American friends who are like, what the hell do you mean you drove in Rome? And Ajit's like, I learned to drive on the streets of Mumbai in an like a manual shift car, like in a Maruti Suzuki. What, you think Rome drivers scare me?
But yeah, you can name it. That's funny.
And we have American friends that are like, we will come with you on holiday as long as you drive because we're not getting behind the car. She's like, it's okay. It's fine. Like Sicilian drivers don't scare me. It's fine. I'll just glare at them. It's okay. Like once you've learned how to drive in India, especially in Mumbai or Delhi, you're good all over the world.
Yeah, that's right.
Um, Yeah, there's a theory that's floating around on the internet that I just thought was so cool. And I had never heard this theory, but apparently it's been brewing for a few years. So if you look at the time frame, like Cher is a high schooler in 1995 when this movie is set. And then if you look at Legally Blonde and it's 2000 or 2001. So there's a theory that Elle Woods is basically just Cher who's gone to college. Because also Reese Witherspoon's character in Legally Blonde is from Newport Beach, which is not that far from Beverly Hills. She is also someone who's obsessed with like fashion and like being a sorority and stuff like that. And then she goes on to, law school. Like it's hard. So I actually really love this theory. Like when I stumbled upon it, I thought this is awesome. Like I love the idea of like Cher Horowitz, who has always coasted on her charm and managed to get her grades go up without actually putting in any of the effort. Like she puts way more effort into arguing about her grades than she does in actually studying. But I love the idea that she actually goes and makes something of herself and goes to like law school and stuff. What do you think of that theory?
I'm sure. I,
Yeah.
I don't need there to be any connection between these characters, even spiritually. But uh, I mean, it's kind of hard to imagine Cher in college dating Warner, who's
Mm.
clearly awful.
Warner is so awful. I hate him so much.
Um, because Paul Rudd and Luke Wilson are like, oh yeah, same guy.
Yeah.
So maybe as her act of rebellion against her high school boyfriend, she goes for Warren while she's in college. I don't know, but
Right.
I mean, yeah, they definitely have some similarities to be sure. To be sure.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the fashions of this movie?
Sure. I mean, you should start as our fashion expert.
I love the fashions of this movie. They are so iconic.
Oh,
Every single outfit in this movie is just the best. I love when she comes out in that white bodycon dress, and her dad's like, "What's that? What is that?" She's like, "A dress." Says who? Calvin Klein. I love the fact that she wears that black beret, and so I had to get my beret out to wear for this episode because Cher would be proud of me. I'm also the only person I know who unironically owns and wears a beret regularly. Not in France though, because I don't want people throwing baguettes at me. But when I lived in Chicago, I loved wearing my berets because I lived by the lake and I worked right by the lake on Erie. And so the winter winds, like it just makes your head so cold, and then you can get like a head cold and like sinus blockage and stuff. So a beret is actually such a wonderful way to keep your head warm, and you also look cute at the same time, and they go with everything. Um, and I remember last fall, I was walking past a Nordstrom and the mannequin was wearing this like red and chocolate brown, like tweed two-piece set. And I remember taking a photo and sending it to, and I was like, oh my God, it's like Cher's outfit, except it's red instead of yellow tweed. I just feel like those outfits still look so good. The red Alaya dress that she wears, the organza wrap that she wears on top of her white dress. Like, yes, it's very 90s and like the high socks and all of that stuff. And some of the outfits in this, especially the ones that are worn by Amber, are really out there with her sailor hat and some of the crazy stuff she wears.
uh,
But those outfits still look so good. And I think, along with Legally Blonde, this is another movie that people always talk about the aesthetics. I don't think this film would be half as fun if it weren't for the fashions in it.
no, definitely. Um, they have another friend whose name I can't remember, but she's the Asian American
Oh,
actress.
yeah.
What's her name?
It's only mentioned once. It's like Jeannie or Jenny or
Yeah,
something like that.
her outfits to me track most closely to what I remember people actually wearing.
Mm,
I knew so I was in college by this time, as I said, so like slightly different. And obviously Josh's outfits and like the
yeah.
like those you see everywhere, but the um oh God, and that vile time of the like Rat Pack revival that Christians got. Oh, that was a time. Mm, mm. And when her dad says, "You think the death of Sammy Davis Jr. means there's a vacancy in the Rat Pack?" So great, so great. Um, yeah, to me, it's the little yellow suit. That's
Yeah.
iconic. The yellow with black and red plaid is
Hmm.
that's the one. But yeah, the socks with high-heeled Mary Janes in particular,
Yeah.
very. But I was noting in this one, like when Cher has kind of had her revelation and is trying to like fix herself on the inside, and she's working on the beach disaster relief fund, and she's cleaning out stuff in their house, and you see her in just like jeans. I assume they're Levi's. I don't actually know, and like a pink cardigan.
Yeah.
Jeans are they seem very 90s to me, but not in an exaggerated way. So they're just basically like straight leg jeans that are maybe a scoot too big for her. You
Hmm.
know, so there's extra fabric, but it's not like Junkos or whatever.
Yeah. Oh,
And
God.
the pink cardigan, like you could put that on today. And like granted, jean cycles come and go, and we are no longer in the grip of the skinny jean like we were 10 years ago or whatever. But
Mhm.
that looks fairly, I mean, it's almost mom, right? It's
Yeah.
a standard thing, an American thing to wear that it looks, that little moment, you're like, oh, she could be doing that now. Or even some of her workout clothes, those seem a lot.
Yeah.
Although, when she's in PE class and she's got the little black strappy tank top on over the white t-shirt, I think
Yeah.
I read somewhere an interview with a costume designer who was like, as far as I know, I'm the first person to really put that forward. And I was like, man, what a thing. Because that whole that layer
Wow. wow.
Uh,
I used to get the Delia's catalog. Oh my God, do you remember Delia's? And
oh,
then I loved 17 magazine and Delia's catalog, everything in there I wanted. And my favorite things used to be like the white ribbed little crop tops with
oh,
like I don't know, like the piping. And then you wore like a summer dress on top of it, like a strappy, like a black summer dress with like yellow daisies on it or something.
a
And then
daisy
socks and
print.
Mary
We
Jane's.
loved a daisy print in the 90s.
So cute. Yes. And those little like black chokers, like the rubbery sort of thing that you would wear. Oh my God, it was so cute. And then especially if you did like two little pigtails, it was like the most adorable look. Yeah, pigtails and then like the little barrettes in the hair. Yes.
I did
Such
love
a
the little
good look.
barrettes. I still have my little 90s barrettes in a little like zippy pouch that I take them out and look at them every now and again. I'm like, oh, yeah. Like I like
I will
little.
never throw mine away. I have little barrettes that are like blue gingham and have daisies on them.
Yeah,
Like I will never get rid of those.
sorry at the moment.
Yeah, very, very cute. I lost my train of thought, but I was going to say something else about the
One
costuming.
of course Cher's comment on the what the boys of her age are wearing, and she's like, "Am I supposed to swoon as if?"
It's just like basically like why don't they make an effort? And you still hear people complaining about that, right? Like especially now with everyone wearing like athleisure all the time, and people are like, I feel like Cher would be very disappointed with the way that most people dress today because no one just really dresses up anymore. So she would be upset about that. What I have to ask you this because this is
Ty's
not.
like, OG look is so fun, right? Because Ty is dressed. She's wearing overalls, I think,
She
with
does.
purple and denim, and like that. That was very much a thing I remember people wearing.
Yeah. And then also like if you wore overalls with Doc Martens, that was
Obviously.
a look. That was a good look.
Oh yeah.
Um, the Rat Pack thing, I know about the Rat Pack revival stuff, but like I did not live through it because I was not in America. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Was it the aesthetic that these people were obsessed with, or
Yeah.
was it the
So,
vibe?
so the movie Swingers came out in 1996. So right after that, and
I
that,
love
as
swingers.
far as I know, and I'm no expert, this was really what kind of launched the revival of interest in swing music and the Rat Pack.
Okay.
That kind of Vegas stuff, and then poker became a big deal, and like, yeah, very kind of 50s Vegas, n- very men-centric, as I recall,
Yeah.
very much for dudes. Um,
Yeah. I
um,
love Vince Swan in that movie so much, especially when he keeps saying, "You're so money, baby. You're so money. You don't even know it, baby. You're just so money." I actually say that to my husband sometimes, like just randomly.
and I in Swingers, but it's been I couldn't tell you what happens in that movie at all. I don't remember. I just remember that being kind of a point in time where we were interested. And I assume it's a reaction to grunge, right?
Right.
It's like a swinging back from a very different aesthetic, and like the music is extremely different. Within still being American pop music, it's a very
Right.
different, a very different musical aesthetic and everything like that too.
Yeah.
I am neither really grunge nor Rat Pack revival myself, but if I had to pick one, I'd go grunge. So
Mm. If I had to pick, I'd probably go Rat Pack.
yeah.
Only because of my Vince Vaughn love. I don't particularly care about like Frank Sinatra or any of those people or James. What is that guy? The one who's always singing um,
Dean
the
Martin.
Italian, huh?
Dean Martin.
Yeah, Dean Martin. Like, I don't particularly care. All those years in New York and Chicago and listening to that same music, Hey Bhagwan, like I cannot. But yes, Vince Vaughn and Swingers will always have my heart. So I like that. If you had to pick a character from Clueless, I know these are very exaggerated people, and to some extent they're caricatures, and this is meant to be a satirical movie. With that being said, if there was a character in this movie that you most think resembled you as a high schooler or most resembles you now, whom would you pick?
I'm not represented in this.
Okay.
Um, I mean, I do. So this probably does not speak well of me. I don't think I'm like Amber particularly, but
Okay.
she's like, why is everyone fawning over Cher when she doesn't even do the assignment and stuff? I would definitely think that. I may not,
Right.
get it, but I would definitely think that. So like the bitterness in Amber, I do really.
Okay.
But I no, I this is not the world that I have ever
Right.
imagined, at all. And because they don't have a nerdy friend, they don't have
Right.
a token like smart friend who they let tag along. I'm not represented in this.
There was so would you be more like Andrea from Beverly Hills 90210? She
Oh
was
yeah,
the
Andrea Zuckerman is deeply relatable to me. Deeply
okay,
relatable to me. Yeah.
because
And my
she
kid was
she
more like
existed in
music
90210.
and news. I didn't do newspaper. I did music. But yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, Andrea
Right.
is by far the closest I think I've ever seen to myself in the 90s
Mhm.
kind of high school representation world, I would say.
Okay. Mine would probably be Travis.
Travis Birdsong. Well, you don't smoke pot all the time and you don't skateboard.
No, but like that like goofy, happy energy where he's like zoned
Happy.
out. I'm definitely a zoned out person.
I can see you if you got the most tardies in the class. I can see you standing up
Yeah.
and giving a speech. I'd forgotten about that. That really made me laugh. His
Oh my God, I love it when he's so pleased about his studies. But I was definitely that person in high school and in college, and honestly, even now, where you know how some people are just in the know? They know all the things. I have a friend like that, Karan. Anytime I want gossip, I want the tea on anything or anyone, or just like current affairs, anything. He is my go-to person. Like I will literally make a mental note where I was like, I need to ask Karan this because Karan is always in the know. I am the opposite of that. I'm the anti in the know, and it's because I'm always zoned out, and it's because my head is always off in some weird random tangential direction, like I'm obsessing on the Lord of the Rings forum about some like random thing and arguing about some sentence, who said this and what did they mean by it. So I never know the gossip, I never know the tea. And so I feel like I would be like Travis, where it's like there's all these shenanigans happening and all there's all this like manipulation, and Ty and Cher are friends. Now they're not friends anymore. And now this happened. And Ty said the mean thing about you're a virgin who can't drive or whatever. And Travis would just be like clueless. And he'd be like, huh? What happened? That's me. That is me. I'm always the last person to know, but I'm not even mad about it because it's fine. I just live in my own world. So Travis is the most relatable.
I love that breakdown. And Travis is extremely delightful.
I love Travis so much. He's
So
so
when he's
cute.
like, I have a drug problem, I need to step off the pot a little bit, and he gets himself into the program with the steps, and Cher's like 12, and he goes, yeah.
He's like, how did you know? He's so happy. And I love that when he brings his little contribution for the Pismo Beach relief, he brings two bongs. But
One of
he's
them
so
made with the
pleased
honey
about
bear,
it.
which is
Yeah.
so funny.
I love that Travis is always so happy about him. So I feel like I'm always happy about myself. So
Great.
yes,
That's a great.
Travis is my person.
Actually, the person who I identify with most is Miss Geist. Well,
I
even
love Miss
though
Geist.
it's like kind of in a fuzz about something like so awful. Why don't you all care? Like that's me giving a tour at the museum.
I do like the romance between the two teachers. It's very cute, like especially when Cher brings the Italian roast and she's like, I don't drink that. I drink, what does she drink? Lemon Snapple or some nonsense? And so she's like, do you want it? And he smells
Couple
it
of
and he's like,
reference. If you were not a teenager in the 90s or older, I don't know if I can explain to you how much we loved Snapple.
really? Why did you love
I,
Snapple?
I don't know. It was just this thing that we all loved, and it wasn't soda. So, like,
Right,
if your parents were harsh about soda, you could have a Snapple. I think a lot of them had just as much sugar,
right.
but not quite as many other artificial. I don't even know, but we loved Snapple. We
So
all
is
clearly,
Snapple like carbonated fruit juice? Is that what it is? Because I know it's not soda.
I mean, there's iced tea, and then there's. I
Oh,
didn't think it was carbonated, really.
okay.
Oh, we loved it. And clearly Canadian, which was like fruity water that was way ahead. I mean, we're all in the LaCroix grip now, but like
Right.
clearly Canadian was there first. And it came in these cute little glass bottles
Interesting.
that would save and like put little flour in on your windowsill in the dorm. But yeah, so in the
Oh.
early 2000s, if we tried to have a 90s theme party, you would get Snapple, which was kind of hard to find for a while, clearly Canadian as well, and then like whatever junk food you loved in high school. And the other big 90s food trend that I did not, well, of course, Cool Ranch came out in the 90s, so like,
Mm.
but
Cheetos.
yeah, the there was this brief moment where Pepsi launched a version of itself that was clear Pepsi. So clear became a thing, and this is immortalized in the Saturday Night Live fake ad about clear gravy.
Oh God.
But yeah, but I did love the nod to Snapple because I was like, yes, this helps place this in a particular.
Nice. So the clear Pepsi, I have to know, does it look like Sprite, basically?
Yeah,
But it tastes like Pepsi.
it tastes like Pepsi. And of course, all those brown colas, like they add that stuff. But
Yeah.
if I recall, people, I was not a Pepsi drinker. I was definitely a Diet Coke person at this time.
Mm.
So I wouldn't have touched Pepsi with a 10-foot pole. So I can't tell you from my personal experience whether it tasted different or not. I feel like people said that it did, even though it wasn't supposed to, if I recall correctly. Um, but yeah, it's not a thing anymore, obviously.
That's so funny because like this whole like Snapple thing completely passed me by. I don't think I've ever had Snapple in my life, Beth, unless someone offered it to. I don't think I've ever had Snapple, but it's so funny because it reminds me of like in India where like fruity was a thing, and we had our own colas like Mirinda and Gold Spot. I had friends who were like Gold Spot people that would not touch anything else. Like they would not have Fanta, but they would have Mirinda, they would have Gold Spot, they would have Thumbs Up. I wasn't particularly interested in any of those, but what are you reading? I just saw you smile.
I'm just looking at, I'm like, what is the deal with Snapple? So at first it was apple juice.
Okay.
I was just trying to skim and see, okay, they they launched a new line of ads in 1992, and that would have been, I think, the launch that got them onto my radar anyway. I don't, oh, and Jennifer Capriati, the tennis player, endorsed to them for a while. I would have
Okay.
definitely responded to that, I'm sure. So anyway, Snapple's been around for a lot longer than I thought, but to me, it's very, I mean, I know it exists now, but it's like a deeply 90s thing. But also, of course, for me, the 90s were when I graduated high school and graduated university and like really lived on my own for the first time and would have first
Mm.
buying my own groceries because I didn't have that as one of my chores. And like, so I was much more aware of consumer products, you know, starting sort of 1992 onwards or 1990 onwards. So that I'm very biased about this, of course, but
Nice.
a good thing.
90s were weird for me because 90s is when mid 90s is when I moved from Nigeria to India for the first time and like actually lived in India instead of just visiting for like 2 weeks. So it was like this entire new universe opened up to me where there were local trains one could board and cinema halls that one could go to and all sorts of things, and I had like independence like I had never had before, and I could literally, and there were, we didn't have cell phones or anything, but we had PCOs everywhere, and my mom would be like, yeah, you can go to college, because in India 11th and 12th standard is called junior college. At
Okay.
least in Mumbai it is. Like I know it's called high school here, but there it's called like junior college. So I was going to junior college, and I would go to school, like I would go to college, and then at the end of the day I would go off with my friends to watch like a movie at Sterling or New Excelsior or something like that. And my mom would be like, that's fine, just give me a call from a PCO. And so I would stop at like Churchgate station, put like the 1 rupee coin in the PCO, just dial my mom's landline and just be like, okay, I'm going for like the whatever show with my friend, and then I'm gonna go get dinner, and then I'll come home. I'll probably get home by like midnight or something. My mom was like, okay, that's fine. And then when I was leaving, like around midnight or whatever, I would call her again from Churchgate Station and be like, okay, I'm heading home now, and like coming home. So it was like the 90s were when I had independence and I had friends and I could go wherever I wanted. And I was like the clueless person. I was the Thai who was new and didn't know anything. And all my classmates in junior college were like born and raised Mumbaikars. They had never lived in any other city and they knew all the things. And I would just be like, I need to buy XYZ. And they'd be like, Lincoln Road, we're taking you. And we're like, okay. Elko Market. Okay.
Loser, we're going to Linking Road.
Exactly. I knew nothing. It was amazing. It was like it was a cool time. And then in 2000 I moved to America, and then it was like yet another new thing.
Oh,
So very fun. What do you think is the cause? Why do you think Cher is so interested in all of this meddling that she does? Like, what is the point of? I have never met a person like this in my life, by the way, and I know that this is also the Emma character, but
yeah.
why is she? Because she's like she's already top of the heap, right? She's already the number one most popular girl, cutest, prettiest, richest, whatever. So, what more do you gain? You already have social
Way to exert your
currency.
power, right? It's
Okay,
a way to remind people of your power, which, as I recall from the novel Emma, and I have not reread it in quite some time.
I have never read it. Just
It,
FYI.
oh, I think it's articulated. I think this is a difference in how that's articulated, but I think it's like what Dion says about how why Cher loves makeovers because it gives her a sense of control. I think it's also that, and it's
Okay.
the reinforcement that I have the knowledge and the status to move resources in a way that is successful, quote unquote.
Okay.
Right? I don't think it's conscious. I think it's a subconscious thing that she does, but it's and her dad's a lawyer, like he's a boss, right? So he's smart, he makes things happen. This is her version of being smart and making things happen. Um, and we
Interesting.
see her be very effective at it when she does do the beach disaster, when she's actually trying to turn that outwards towards a do-good situation. Her little booth has the most people at it by a long shot, and she's like filled up all
Yeah.
the boxes from the donations, right? So she is effective at wielding resources and putting them to use. But I think at first it's a kind of thing that like on the surface is for the other people, but like not really. And they play that out in the grade things because they put the teachers together to make them happy so that they grade less,
Mm,
right? It's not
yeah.
altruistic. The kids do seem to find the romance cute and everything. Like they're
Yeah.
like, people can be so sweet, and they're younger than we are. But so that it's not that he's an evil mastermind or anything, but I think
Right.
subconsciously what's going on. And I can see how if you lose a parent as a little child, and then your dad isn't he was married 5 times, isn't that what they say?
No, the mom, Josh's mom, so Paul's mom is on her fourth marriage.
Right.
But I almost thought like Cher's dad is only married twice. So first to Cher's mom, who dies during what? A routine rhinoplasty? No, a routine liposuction. I love the idea of a routine liposuction. Um, and then the second time was to Josh's mom.
Okay. I thought there was something about him being married more times. But anyway, if you're watching
Oh.
it, the one adult in your life, maybe make a decision that maybe you wish they didn't or something like, of course, you're going to want to take that out on.
Mm.
She's also kind of bossy with Lucy, their
Oh,
housekeeper,
yeah.
right? Is that out of line with how people talk to housekeepers? I have no idea. I've never had one. I've never been that in that strata of American society, but you know,
Yeah, there's that scene where she thinks she says something about I don't speak Mexican, and then Paul Rudd is like, first of all, like that's not a language, and second of all, she's from El Salvador, and she's like, whatever, it's the same thing. It's like, oh, girl, it's not.
yeah, so for all this fancy school that you go to,
Yeah,
you say this is a very good school. I'm like, well, you're not paying attention. Ask me.
right. I wonder if this also like if this is the same kind of person that eventually down the line becomes one of those like country club moms and those ladies who lunch where it's also the same power dynamic where they're organizing like they're on the board of the
Oh yeah.
PTA and they're doing the
She
charity fundraising.
she's Charisma Kapoor's character from Murder Move On,
Mm,
right? The
right,
kind of or any of those people, honestly. And if we're lucky, she turns into Dimple Kapadia and is like a kooky artist. But they're
right,
all at the club. Yeah, they really
right.
these sort of small environments where you can be the most popular and you never have to be a small fish in a big pond. You can continue to be a big fish in a relatively small pond.
Mhm. Yeah, you never have to like apply yourself and
Everyone knows who you
fight or anything. Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. Um, interesting. I was thinking about something and I lost my train of thought. This seems to happen far too regularly.
are.
Um,
You're
mostly because I'm allergic to wool and I'm wearing a woolen beret.
maybe you want to take your allergy provoking beret off.
I know. No, I have Claritin. Anything for fashion. I will continue wearing this and I'll just take Claritin later. It's okay. Mm. I just realized what I wanted to ask you. Okay, so I have never read Emma. I have read Pride and Prejudice. I've read Sense and Sensibility. I've read Mansfield Park. Hang on. Is Mansfield Park Jane Austen or Thomas Hardy?
Jane Austen.
Okay, so I've read Mansfield Park as well. So I think those are the three Jane Austen books I've read. I tried to get into Persuasion and I just couldn't. And I was like, no. And then Emma, I think, is also one of those that I attempted. And I just was like, nah, this is not for me. And I put it aside. 'Cause given a choice between Austen and like Thomas Hardy or Dickens, I'm going to pick Hardy and Dickens because
Oh,
I love my emo people.
sure.
I'm emo. So I need my Victor Hugo. I need my bad things happening to
Yeah,
people. I need teeth being sold in limes, unfortunately. Jane Austen is too wholesome.
pleasant.
It's too pleasant, exactly. So, how is I know you said that you like the Emma TV show that you saw, the British one. Have you seen the American movie, the one that has Gwyneth Paltrow in it?
Mhm.
Did you like that one?
I think I must have at the time. Yeah.
Okay.
It has Jeremy Northam as
Mm.
Mr. Knightley. Mr. Knightley is my favorite of the Austen romantic,
Men.
and I did at that time certainly quite enjoy Jeremy Northam. I mean, I still like him. I just haven't seen him in a while, but so that probably would have been. Oh, and Ewan McGregor is in it as Frank Churchill, which I
Oh, I
also
like him.
very very appreciate. He's very fun in that role. So that's a good one, I would say. And it's pretty easy to project Gwyneth into that kind of.
Yeah.
I don't, I don't think Gwyneth is an amazing actor, but I think she's perfectly fine. So I don't think I had any. Oh, and Toni Collette plays Harriet. And I love Toni Collette.
She's amazing.
Love Toni Collette. So there's a lot to enjoy about that one. But the late 2000s one with Romola Garai and Johnny Lee Miller is my
Mm.
very favorite. Because also it's 4 episodes, so you get a little bit longer. And they in that version, they do some small but very impactful things to explore the idea that maybe Emma is terribly lonely.
Oh, okay.
And that is a really interesting wrinkle on that character. And I do not remember the novel well enough to say whether that's in there or not, but I certainly think as an interpretation, it works really, really well. So,
That's interesting because I just rewatched Clueless last night, and there was a comment about loneliness in that as well, where she does talk about that share, which is very interesting to me that you're surrounded by all these people. You're literally always the center of attention, and you're the queen bee and everything, and yet at your core you are lonely, maybe because you feel like those relationships are just very shallow and superficial,
mhm.
and no one really gets you past the mask.
Sarah is shown to be an only child, which Emma is.
Yes.
She has an older sister who's gone off and gotten married, and then she has this
Okay.
governess who lives with them, who's getting married at the beginning of the book. So that Emma has been left alone, right? She no longer has the sister or the governess at home. It's just her with her dad, um,
Mm.
servants. But they're not people. They don't count.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Cher the most famous only child in American media? Maybe so.
Right. I love that line where she's when she's introducing herself at Dionne and she's like, "We're named for famous singers who now do infomercials." I like literally laughed out loud when she
And
said
I
that.
don't remember Cher's infomercials, but I sure do remember Dan Warwick's infomercials.
Yeah, I don't. I actually didn't know that Cher had done any infomercials. I was like, really? Like, okay, interesting. What do you think about the character of Christian? Because from the second that boy landed on my screen, I had clocked him as being gay, and the
Where this,
boys had clocked him also.
yeah, this is where this film does not age super well. I think that, when Murray is explaining to the two girls that Christian is gay, I'd like to think we don't use that language anymore.
Hmm.
Although teen boy is probably not who you look to for the most sensitive
Right.
language. So, you know, maybe, but the I think they do what I do think they do well with Christian is watching him kind of play along to get along, but then when actually Cher
Mhm.
is very clearly making overtures to him, now he doesn't use his words, but he does amscray. So he in a teen boy kind of way is trying not to lead her on, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and I like that those two are able to establish a new friendship together and actually get along. I would love to see them actually having a conversation about his sexuality, but it was 1995 and not as many of us were as au fait with thinking and speaking about such things. So I get it.
Hmm.
But I think that's, there's a little bit of his depiction that I feel like they keep insisting that he loves to shop, you know,
Mm.
like, okay, we've moved past that like gay sidekick, gay sassy gay best friend kind of thing.
Yeah.
He's so but to the film's credit, he does not become like sassy gay friend. He's not sitting
Right.
making quips all the time, kind of like Jack from Will and Grace, right? Like this is that basic
Yeah.
time period, and this is in some
Or
way
the Sex and the City nonsense.
right. So this
Yeah.
is a little more nuanced, but some of the language about him is not great.
Hmm.
I do think it's
Well,
an interesting way to show that he's unavailable because in the novel, he's engaged to someone else secretly. But
mhm.
this is a good update, I think.
Engaged secretly? Is he Shekhar from Parinita? More secret marriages?
Basically.
I like the fact that he's shown to have substance because there's that scene where Ty is, I don't know what that scene is in the shopping mall where she's flirting with the boys
Yeah.
and then they take it too far and she starts screaming because she's genuinely in fear. And then he goes and like kind of like defends her. I kind of like that scene where he kind of like criticizes them for taking it too far and like, frightening her. And I also like the very obvious tolerance that people have for him in this movie without, like she's willing to be friends with him. Ty is willing to be friends with him. They're willing to hang out with him. The boys also, for all the comments that Murray makes, I think Murray's choice of words is, unfortunate, but I don't think it's portrayed as him saying it with like malice or
I don't
anything.
think so either. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's the language he has, and uh it's not the most sort of substantial even at the time, but
Hmm.
like calling someone a friend of Dorothy or whatever he says, and
Yeah.
I've like, some of us knew better than that.
Streisand ticket waving, he says. The friend of Dorothy reference I actually did not get. The Streisand ticket waving, yes, I got that.
Oh,
But
because the very, very stereotype gay men love Judy Garland.
oh, it's because of the Judy Garland thing. Okay, because like I know Liza Minnelli and Barbara Streisand and Cher, of course, but I did not put the Judy Garland thing together. Okay, yeah, but I like that
I know
he's
that's
not.
what it is.
It probably is, but I like that he's not like a social outcast or anything
No,
like that. The boys know he's gay. The girls clock onto it incredibly, shockingly late. Again, probably pointing to the fact that they are clueless and they don't think about anything except themselves and their outfits. But I like that there does seem to be like a spirit of tolerance where
yeah,
he's not going to be like shunned for it. And there's even that scene when they're at that nightclub or whatever, and he doesn't want to go with them. He tells Paul Rudd that he can
right.
take them because he wants to go and talk to the cute
Yeah,
boys
bartender,
instead.
yeah.
Yeah, and no one seems to be raising an eyebrow about that either. So I was like, okay, that's
And I'm
cool.
sure I would assume that Paul Rudd's character had it figured out,
Oh yeah.
Um, and I like that, in the same way that there is the gay gym teacher, and she, there's
Mm,
kind of a passing mention to like, oh, she likes women, like all gym
hmm.
teachers. And you're like, okay, that very stereotype, but it's not even more stereotypy than most of the rest of the film, I don't think.
Right,
So in that way, I don't think it's meant with cruelty or anything like that
right.
in the shorthand that teenagers would probably use. Um,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay. How do you feel this movie ranks against? I know that the TV show Emma is ranked higher for you than there's Clueless. Where do you think Aisha sits? This is a movie that we have talked about in our Jane Austen adaptations
I've
episode with
only
Amrita.
I've only seen Aisha once. I was very excited to see it.
Mm.
I should see it again before I really say much of anything, I suppose. But if I remember right in our episode, you and Amrita both sort of think that this is perhaps Sonam Kapoor's
Yeah.
best performance and all, which perhaps is not saying a whole lot,
No.
but
I mean, that's the greatest
y-
compliment I'm ever going to give Sonam Kapoor.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So yeah, I don't really know. And as far as, a translation in a way of Emma into modern, I think this works.
Delhi society. Yeah.
Those are both great ideas. So,
Yeah.
and it is, as we talked about at that time, it's surprising to me there are not more Jane Austen adaptations in Indian cinema because the a lot of the pressures of the world seem to translate fairly well.
Yeah. I would be interested in seeing more. By the way, I believe that there's going to be a Clueless movie coming out. It is in talks, and Alicia Silverstone is going to be in it. I don't know who else in the cast is confirmed, but Amy Heckerling is writing it, and I don't know a lot about it. They've been quite secretive in keeping it under wraps, but it looks like it's going to be like 30 years later. So I would be very curious to see what life Cher has now, and I think it would be amazing if Paul Rudd was actually cast in it, and if they're like, are they married still? Are they divorced? Are
Right.
they co-parenting their children or something? Like, I would be so interested in seeing it. And I'm like, I have a little bit of trepidation because often sequels don't work out so well.
And to
But
someone who was a child and make them an adult, it's a big jump. Uh,
yeah.
and for a long time, if you asked me what my favorite novel is, I would have told you
Mm,
Bridget Jones's Diary. I read
okay.
that book so many times, I can't even tell you. I used to keep it by my bedside. I would reread portions to make myself laugh if I was having
It's
a bad day.
hysterical.
I thought it was so funny. And the third of the books where they've jumped forward in time,
Mm,
not very successful to me. And there's something about the immaturity of Bridget as an adult, as a full adult, as opposed to a 20 something that
mhm.
she is when we meet her. And obviously 20 somethings are adults in certain ways, but to see her at 50 when you knew her at 25 or whatever, and she's very, very similar, you're like, this isn't cute anymore. This isn't funny
Uh-huh.
anymore. This isn't like, I don't know. So I feel very scarred by that experience. So I don't want to see Cher as an adult. I'd like to leave
Mm,
where she is. And for fictional person, I wish she has had I hope for her a life of learning and growing, right? But I
yeah.
don't think I want to meet her again because I don't know. That said, I'd probably watch it.
Yeah. Did you watch that latest Bridget Jones movie that came out? I saw the ad and it looked very dire, and I did not want to watch it. But I think that's the one where Bridget Jones is now a widow.
The most recent one, no. I did see the
Okay.
third movie, but not the because the third movie doesn't really relate to the third book particularly. So
Mm,
I didn't see this most recent one. I thought about it, and I think Renee Zellweger is really good in that role. But I think I need to step away.
okay. Yeah, I've only seen the first two. The first one is like one of my favorite poems, but I haven't really.
Yeah.
Okay. One last question before we sign off. I was looking up Reddit conversations about this, and a lot of people who have recently watched this film that watched it when it first came out are very icked out by the semi-incestuous seeming idea of Paul Rudd's character and Alicia Silverstone's character being together. And it was like this whole like battle in the comments of people who were saying, you guys, they are not biologically related, get over it. And people were like, no, but they're like step siblings, what is going on? What are your thoughts on that? I'm part of the it doesn't bother me camp.
I don't really have any thoughts about that particularly. I get why I think it would really depend on something we don't know, which is how much time were they in the same house being raised sort of as siblings? Now,
Right.
granted, so there's like a 4 or 5 year age difference, which meant that he was in high school when she was in junior high or whatever. So,
Mhm.
like, were they around at the same time a lot being treated as siblings?
Mm,
If they were never really being treated as siblings and they didn't spend that much time together in that way, then I mean, it's a little weird, but whatever.
yeah.
But, and it's certainly, in the novel, her romantic lead is her sister's husband's brother.
Oh, okay.
Again, they are not blood related in any way, but their siblings are married. And that,
Mm,
I've heard of that happening, but that's a little, and he's also he's like 15 or 18 years older than she is or something. And it does seem a lot more like parental. Um,
mm,
so I like that the age difference is smaller here.
yeah.
But yeah, I guess I don't really have, it just depends on information we don't have for me, I think.
Yeah.
Willing to just move aside with it for
I
the,
was just kind of taken aback because, like, it has literally never bothered me or even struck me. And if you type like Reddit, Clueless, or whatever, and you want to read threads about it, so many of the most talked about threads are about people really getting their knickers in a twist about it to the point that I was like, really? Like, am I missing something? Is this really that icky to people? But okay. Yeah, just a thought I had. Okay. Did you have anything else to add about Clueless? What are some other films that you think hold up in that similar sort of satirical vein?
that's for sure number one, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, Legally Blonde is still enjoyable to me. I have not revisited Mean Girls in a long time, and again,
Mm,
I intend to leave. I didn't bond with that one as hard as I was enough older, I think, that it
mm,
didn't resonate. You were saying Wayne's World, which is obviously a great 90s,
yeah.
a very different vibe. And for me, Heathers is an absolute classic that in
Mm,
very dark is a very different tone. Um,
right.
and I still find it extremely funny. So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think all of those that you mentioned, I actually watched Mean Girls about a month ago with my friend. She came over. I made us lemon drop martinis, and we basically watched it tipsy, which is the best way to watch movies, I will say. And it was great. And Maria, my friend, was basically just like 2 seconds before a character would say a famous line, like "boo, you whore" or whatever, she would say it, and I'd be like, Maria, like, can I just
That
enjoy the
that
movie?
would be me watching Heathers with you. So don't invite me to watch Heathers with you. I think all of it is still up there somewhere.
It's fine. If I have a martini in me, I'm just very happy and it's fine. And even if I look at my friend and I'm like, can you stop spoiling this movie? I'm still having a good time, so it's okay.
So I had to look it up. Heathers was from 1988. I was wrong. It's earlier than I thought. So there's a chunk of 7 years between these two films, and they do feel a few of the fashions are kind of similar, like the plaid mini suit
Yeah.
kind of thing is in Heathers as well, worn in a very different way. But yeah, I was like, oh, that's a different subset of Gen X, right? Those high school kids.
Yeah. Very cute. Yeah, I think I like all of these, but my number one would probably still be Wayne's World. I just remembered I had like a brain fart earlier, but I couldn't remember my favorite line. And it's like, all right, excellent.
Party time.
Party time, yay! I love when they go to like Milwaukee,
The Promised Land.
the
You
promised land.
can't say Milwaukee and not say Milwaukee, the Promised Land.
Yes, so true.
My favorite part of
So
Wayne's World
good.
actually is when I believe Ione Skye and Tom uh Rob Lowe
Ramlo.
are just like hanging out in bed and they're watching TV. And
Yeah.
the commercial for a Chicago carpet company comes on. And if you are from the Chicagoland area or got Chicago television in the 80s, you know this jingle. And it was just so funny that was in there because all these comedians, like they train in Chicago, right? At some
Right.
places. So I was like, yeah, it was a great,
It's
great.
amazing. I love Rob Lowe in that movie so much. And I was so happy to see Tia Carrere because I haven't seen her in very many things, although I thought she was phenomenal in Wayne's World. She looks like $1 million. She's hysterical. Every time she comes on screen, I just like light up. And I recently just saw her in the movie theaters when I went to see Lilo and Stitch 2.
Oh,
So she is in Lilo and Stitch 2 as the social worker who has to go tell Nani Pelakai that Lilo cannot stay with her because reasons. And she came on screen and she's now in like her late 50s or something. And I only remember her from Wayne's World. So I remember this very hot, like mid 20s person in bodycon dresses singing all these songs in the nightclubs. And when I was watching Light on Stitch 2, I was so distracted because I kept thinking, who is this woman? I know her. But like also I can't place her because of course I wasn't paying attention during the credits. And then later on, when I discovered it was Tia Carrere, I was like, oh my God, mind blown. And then I went and looked up her filmography and IMDb. But that was a very happy um like coincidence to see her on screen. Yeah.
that's so cool.
Yeah. I also realized that Wayne's World, that the show that they have that they do on like the public access television, it's kind of like what we do.
Yeah, they're kind of in our,
We're actually Wayne and Garth. Because when this podcast started, it was just the two of us on Zoom, technologically
oh,
challenged,
no.
just rambling about things we like. We're like, well, if anyone watches, they watch, and if they don't, they don't. It's fine. We're still having fun, and it's still all right and excellent.
Nice.
Okay, I think that wraps up this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't seen Clueless, please watch it. It is an amazing movie. And if you want to write your comments just in the form of quotations, I fully support that choice. I think it would be great.
We hope you will write and watch not sporadically.
Yes. All right, we will see you next week. Thank you for watching. Bye.